So after all that, we're onto comics, which I probably have surprisingly few for a cartoonist, but what I do have are, I think, particularly good. Now, Death and Return of Superman, I don't know if I would say it's good, because I just don't know if it is good or not. Definitely very, very fascinating. Last Stand of the Wreckers, though, definitely excellent. Even if you're not into Transformers, absolutely worth reading if you like comics. But I actually wrote an essay about Death and Return of Superman, and then Max Landis went and did a video that was pretty much the exact same thing, except with a bunch of celebrities, which I actually quite enjoyed. No, my opinion on Max Landis is brilliant artwork in this one, by the way. But I don't know what my opinion is on Max Landis really, but definitely enjoyed that video. And just the last couple of various graphic novels that I have. There's also some stuff in here that probably should have gone in with my general pop culture stuff, but complete reprint of all of the Legend of Zelda comics from Nintendo Power, which it's got all the, not covers, but the different chapter title things, plus just, it's printed so nicely, and I just dig the art style so much. It was great when it was in Nintendo Power, it's great as a trade paperback. And then, again, just miscellaneous nerd stuff, collection of Ronald Searle, who created St. Trinians, and this big Transformers book, which is all about the early days of Transformers, with the different marketing copy and excerpts from the comics, creation of things, like there's some of the artwork from the back of the boxes, a whole bunch of photos of really rare pieces that collectors still have held on to, you know, early test models, you know, backs of, I can't find any now, I'm flipping through it, but, you know, the backs of packaging that would otherwise not have been kept. It's all stuff you can probably get on the internet, but it's just lovely having it in a nice coffee table book. Now here's a real treat, things that my friends have made. So again, all this in this stack I thoroughly recommend you check out, including this one by Scarlett Bacchini that actually got banned from 2 conventions. Got a whole bunch of funny little weird comics by the inimitable Ben Hutchings. Just look at those faces. Just everything that he touches becomes comedy gold. Rebecca Clements, who has done some of the regular show comic book covers, is probably where you would recognise her from. Now this was a weird little doujinshi that was done by Nicholas Wallstrom, aka Walrus Guy, one of the original kings of YouTube poop. More Ben. This is a thing that Nicholas Wallstrom sent me that he did in high school. It's the origin of some of the characters that appear in his animations, and it's just the note that he wrote with it. Now, probably what's Ben Hutchings' magnum opus, at least so far, because every time he releases something it sort of supplants the last thing that had that title, called Iron-Barred Ballisto. I can't do it justice. We cameoed the Iron Bard in Ephemeris at one point in the second book, if you keep an eye out. Burning Down the Ale House, which is a collection of irregular webcomic strips by David Morgan Marr, who is a Sydney-based cartoonist, in that, you know, and I don't mean that air quotes in a negative way, because he makes amazing comics, but without ever drawing a line, because it's all Lego minifigs. Well, and miniatures. You can see that there's some Lego up there. And all of his stuff is just fantastic wordplay, and clever stories, and just great fun. More Ben. My mate Chris Gooch. This is one of his earlier books, a collection of short comic stories. He's, again, one of the most talented cartoonists that I know. and he's working on a new graphic novel at the moment, which I've proofread and is amazing, and I can't wait to add that one to the stack of stuff. This was a collection, like an anthology by different cartoonists, which Ben is also in. Then there's just a whole stack of weird little things by a bunch of different people, all of which is just weird and interesting and wonderful. Dean Rankin, who draws Simpsons comics. I've got two of that one. His stuff is all kind of gross and weird when it's not Simpsons. Then there's just some paperbacks and single issues. The Playboy cartoons, which, you know, maybe, again, haven't aged quite so well. Some of them, I think are pretty funny and have held up well, but others, not so. But beautiful brushwork. Like, if you look at my comics, you can see the influence of at least the art style. This is what Matt Groening made before he went on to do The Simpsons, and some people, you know, are very edgy and say, "Oh, you know, Life in Hell was so much better," but it is why he made up the Simpsons characters supposedly right at the last minute, because he realised that if he signed over the characters from Life in Hell, he was signing away his current life's work and couldn't make any more money off it. Garfield, genuinely pretty terrible, but, you know, was created to be marketable, and that's what he was. And some of the older ones genuinely kind of funny, and, you know, he'll always have a special place in my heart. Now, Foot Flats, I've got tons and tons of these, and honestly, up there with Peanuts and Calvin and Hobbes as one of the funniest newspaper comics of all time. Just one of the best newspaper comics of all time. One of the best comics of all time, maybe, but I've got just piles upon piles, as many compilations as I can get my hands on. Now, there's all sorts of, not all sorts, there's one huge compilation of every single strip, which I've seen in bookshops less and less these days, but quite a lot when it was first released, and I really wanted it, but I just couldn't justify spending the money. Oh, now you can see under there, oh hang on, let me just go through this stack. There are all the little individual Foot Flats compilations. Murray Ball, New Zealand-based cartoonist. Oh, now here's Peanuts, which, again, I just couldn't love more. And Giles, who, I've got a couple of different collections of Giles. He drew comics for the newspapers in Britain for many decades. And some of his stuff is still just so wonderful, just so funny. More Foot Flats, that's all the ones that were on the weekend. That's from the film adaptation that they did, which is pretty good. And then it's just a stack of free comic book day comics I've accumulated. There's some good things, some not good so good things, you know. But it's free, you get what you pay for, and sometimes more than that. It's a great initiative and I like it. Finally, oh yeah, it's the Phantom. I've always loved the Phantom because, especially as a kid, you know, getting Superman comics or Spider-Man, which I have got a decent stack of, but, you know, the prices of them just kept going up and up and up. These pretty much stuck at $2 for... this is pretty much as long as I can remember. They went up to $3 after about 10 years, and then up to $3.50. And I sort of went, oh, you know, ridiculous. Look, you know, $2.50, that's what they should cost. But then I kind of realised, yeah, you know, inflation, it's been 15 years since they last went up in price, so they probably deserved it. Sonic the Hedgehog, I think someone gave that to me. Oh, now, Serenity, nothing against Sonic, by the way. I really like the games. The Serenity comics that they did, which I've got all the single issues of, which I was really into the show and the film. Now here I've got a whole bunch of just single issue things that either got cheap or people gave to me, which... Oh, there's more Sonic, so at some point I was really into it. Oh, the reprint of the very first issue of Transformers, one of the Peck-In comics from the toys. Now, I did have a subscription to Spider-Man comics for a while. Oh, now a lot of these are actually... a friend over in America sent me a whole stack of them. Now, yeah, I had a subscription to Spider-Man, but they keep decompressing the issues so much, and it was costing $8, $9, $10 for each single issue, and it had shit like that on it, and I just was so over it, and I just kind of realised at a certain point I'm just wasting my money on something that I don't even enjoy. Like, look at the anatomy on that. How do people... Oh, now this one's iconic for every wrong reason. And look, I paid friggin' $8 for that. Someone drew that and said, yeah, that's good. And it's not just one person. People have to ink these, pencil these, letter them. It's a huge team, which, is fair enough why they cost so much. You can't just... Oh yeah, I collected X-Men for a while too. You can't expect artists to work for peanuts, although people frequently do. But I guess my point is, oh no, you can see I got the trade paperback of this because I could only find the first issue. I really enjoyed it and I wanted to know the end of the story. But after a point I just realised, buying all these single issue superhero comics, it's just such a waste of my money. I wasn't enjoying them. I, mostly didn't like the art. I ran out of card space there, so it's like even my camera was telling me that it was sick of my ranting. So... yeah, these are all my Spider-Mans I still have and whatnot. But it's what convinced me to, I just started getting Phantom again instead because every one of them is just a self-contained, more Sonic, self-contained story. They cost next to nothing, have gorgeous artwork all the time, and every one of them is just a classic. Oh, now, these last two at the bottom here... some old vintage comics. I used to have a whole stack of Beano annuals, but I think I gave them away, or they might be in a box in the attic. But as a kid, I just loved them, and as an adult, I still actually quite like the Bash Street Kids. Not because it's particularly brilliant, but just out of nostalgia more than anything. You can see there's a whole stack of them there. Oh, no, that's a reprint of the very first X-Men, I think. And oh man, you can see this was a comic where they just screen capped the TV show of Pokemon and made a comic from it, and now you can see how beaten up this is, and it's been repaired with tape and all sorts of things. As a kid, I just thought this was tops, because it had a little map, which was so helpful playing the game, trying to figure out where I was going and what there was. Plus, I used to love, just folding that over and holding that and pretending that I lived in the Pokemon world and that this was an actual newspaper. And then all these hints. They had a lot of Professor Oak hints in here. I can't spot one, I may have gone past him. But he gave terrible advice, like use your Master Ball on a Pokemon you really want. Like, no, dreadful, don't do that. Use it on the Legendary. Not the Legendary, like at the end of the game. I mean, like the ones post-game that, like the Legendary dogs that you otherwise just, their encounter rates are so ridiculous and they flee, you're never going to get any of them. Anyway, I could talk about Pokemon for hours, but that's it. It's my books. I almost forgot my manga, which is all up here, and it's just a bunch of random things that people have sent me mostly, and of course Cromartie High School, which if you haven't read it or seen the show, it's probably again one of the funniest things in existence, and you should check it out.